These 10 Crémants taste like $50 champagne, but cost half that. And no, Crémant isn't a knockoff category. It's traditional method sparkling wine made outside champagne, meaning the bubbles are created by a second fermentation in the bottle. Tirage, prise de mousse, remuage, dégorgement, and a final dosage decision, just like real champagne. The magic comes from lees aging, where spent yeast cells break down through autolysis and add that creamy, brioche texture people mistake for luxury. You'll find Crémant AOCs across Alsace, Burgundy, Loire, Limoux, Jura, and more. Burgundy even has premium tiers called Eminent and Grand Eminent for extended aging. Tonight we're ranking 10 bottles by taste and balance, fruit expression, celebration factor, and the only rule that matters. Would you pour a second glass on purpose? Let's start at the bottom. Number 10. Jaillance, Crémant de Die. Jaillance is where the list begins, and honestly, it earns this spot without embarrassment. This is Crémant at its most friendly. It pours bright, lively, and immediately refreshing, with citrus peel, green apple, and a faint floral lift that makes the first sip feel like opening a window. The bubbles rush in enthusiastically and fade just as fast, leaving a clean, uncomplicated finish behind. Nothing about it feels broken or poorly made. It just doesn't linger long enough to feel important. What Jaillance does extremely well is accessibility. This is the bottle you open when people claim they don't like champagne. It's light, easygoing, and never veers into bitterness or sharp acidity. The sweetness is subtle, the structure is polite, and the fruit reads as fresh rather than syrupy. It behaves exactly how you want an entry-level traditional method sparkler to behave. Why does it land last? Depth. Compared to what's coming later, Jaillance feels more like sparkling refreshment than sparkling wine. The mousse is coarse by champagne standards. The autolytic notes barely register, and the finish disappears before it can build character. It's enjoyable, it's useful, it's just not memorable. Jaillance earns its place here because it introduces you to the category, not because it convinces you to abandon champagne forever. Hashtag 9. Gratien and Meyer, Crémant de Loire. Gratien and Meyer is the first real step into, oh, this is different. This bottle immediately shifts the tone from simple fizz to something that actually behaves like wine. The Loire Valley signature shows up clearly. Crisp orchard fruit, lemon zest, and a chalky edge that keeps everything feeling tight and deliberate. The bubbles are finer, more controlled, and they don't collapse the moment they hit your tongue. What makes Gratien and Meyer interesting is restraint. It doesn't try to overwhelm you with brioche or sweetness. Instead, it leans into freshness and precision. Each sip feels focused, like it knows exactly what it's trying to be. The acidity is clean, the fruit stays honest, and the finish has just enough length to make you pause before the next sip. So why isn't it higher? Personality. This is Crémant that performs beautifully at the table, especially with seafood or salty snacks, but it doesn't quite deliver the emotional punch people associate with celebration wine. It feels composed rather than indulgent. You respect it, you enjoy it, you don't fall in love with it. Gratien and Meyer lands at 9 because it proves Crémant can be serious, but not yet seductive. If this list is already messing with your champagne habits, hit like and subscribe. We do these second glass tests all the time, and the next ranking gets even more controversial. Drop your state in the comments too. Crémant availability in the US is wildly inconsistent. Number 8. Clotilde de Vin, Crémant de Bourgogne. Clotilde de Vin is where Burgundy quietly enters the conversation and changes everything. This bottle doesn't announce itself loudly. It just pours a glass and lets the texture do the talking. The mousse is softer, creamier, and noticeably more champagne-adjacent than anything below it. You start picking up lemon curd, pear skin, faint toast, and that chalky Burgundian backbone that makes the whole thing feel structured instead of bubbly. What pushes this higher is balance. The acidity doesn't spike. The fruit doesn't blur. The dosage feels tuned rather than convenient. It drinks like someone actually cared about how all the pieces fit together. This is the first bottle on the list that feels designed, not just produced. Why isn't it top tier? Intensity. Clotilde de Vin plays elegance over drama. The flavors unfold gently rather than explosively. You admire it more than you crave it. Still, this is where Crémant stops being good for the price and starts being good, period. It earns 8th place by quietly proving that Burgundy can make sparkling wine that belongs in Champagne's emotional zip code. Number 7. Bailly-Lapierre, Crémant de Bourgogne. Bailly-Lapierre feels like a party bottle that went to finishing school. It keeps the Burgundian creaminess, but adds a more playful energy. The bubbles are lively, yet refined. The fruit leans toward ripe apple and citrus. And there's a soft brioche undertone that finally starts scratching that champagne itch properly. What makes Bailly-Lapierre climb higher is confidence. It doesn't feel shy. It doesn't feel thin. Each sip lands with presence. The mousse carries flavor instead of evaporating it, and the finish hangs around long enough to register as premium. This is the bottle people start assuming cost more than it actually did. So why only 7th? Complexity. While it delivers texture and crowd appeal beautifully, it doesn't quite layer flavors the way the top half of this list will. You get polish and pleasure, but not quite mystery. Bailly-Lapierre ranks here because it's the moment Crémant stops feeling like a clever alternative and starts feeling like a legitimate champagne competitor. Number 6. Domaine Huet, Traditional Method, Lorraine/Côte de Toul. Domaine Huet is where this list takes a quiet left turn, and that turn matters. This isn't a textbook Crémant label in the way the others are, but it is made in the same traditional method discipline, and in the glass, it behaves like a secret handshake among people who actually pay attention. From the first pour, the mousse feels tighter, more disciplined, less frothy, and more architectural. The bubbles rise slowly, evenly, and settle into a fine, persistent bead that already signals intent. The aroma leans toward wild strawberry, red apple skin, and a faint herbal edge that feels distinctly northeastern France. There's freshness here, but not the simple citrus snap of entry-level bottles. Instead, the fruit carries shape. When you sip it, the wine doesn't rush. It unfolds. The acidity draws a clean line through the center, while the Lee's influence shows up as subtle cream rather than overt toast. This is sparkling wine that rewards patience. What elevates Domaine Huet is tension. Many bottles try to charm you immediately. This one builds interest slowly. The first sip intrigues, the second clarifies. By the third, you realize you're drinking something designed to behave like wine first and celebration second. It pairs effortlessly with food, especially anything with salt or fat, and it never collapses into simple fizz. So why only 6th? Identity. Because it sits slightly outside the mainstream Crémant map, it lacks the immediate regional signature that defines the top tier. It's brilliant, it's refined, but it feels more like a connoisseur's detour than a universal recommendation. Domaine Huet ranks here because it proves that traditional method brilliance exists far beyond famous regions, even if you have to search a little harder to find it. #5. Charles Boer, Crémant d'Alsace. Charles Boer is the moment this countdown starts feeling deliberately constructed rather than pleasantly surprising. This is Crémant that announces its precision without raising its voice. From the first glance in the glass, everything looks orderly. The mousse is fine, compact, and persistent. The color is pale gold with a faint green edge that already suggests acidity and restraint. On the nose, Alsace makes itself known immediately. Green apple, lemon pith, white flowers, and a subtle mineral streak run through the aromatics. There's no heaviness here, no excess sweetness, no bakery shop theatrics. When you sip it, the structure becomes the headline. The acidity is laser clean. The fruit is lean but expressive. The finish is long, dry, and quietly assertive. What sets Charles Bauer apart is discipline. This bottle doesn't chase creaminess, it chases clarity. Each element is placed where it belongs, and nothing tries to dominate the frame. It's the kind of sparkling wine that makes you slow down without being asked. You start paying attention to temperature, to glassware, to pacing. That's usually a sign you're drinking something well-made. Why doesn't it crack the top 4? Emotion. This is intellectual pleasure more than emotional indulgence. It satisfies the brain before it seduces the senses. For many drinkers, that's exactly the point. But for a ranking that weighs celebration factor heavily, Charles Bauer stops just short of delivering the luxurious glow the upper tier will provide. It earns 5th place by mastering precision, even if it chooses elegance over spectacle. Number 4. Albert Mann, Crémant d'Alsace. Albert Mann is where elegance starts carrying weight. This is the first bottle on the list that feels undeniably expensive, regardless of what the price tag says. The mousse alone signals a step up. The bubbles are microscopically fine, rising in slow, continuous streams that create a creamy, almost satin-like texture on the palate. Aromatically, this wine opens in layers. Citrus oil, ripe pear, almond skin, faint honey, and a whisper of toast drift in and out rather than arriving all at once. Nothing shouts, everything hums. When you taste it, the balance becomes the story. The acidity is present but rounded. The fruit is ripe but not broad. The lees character is integrated rather than decorative. What pushes Albert Mann into the top 4 is cohesion. This wine feels assembled rather than blended. Each component supports the next. The mid-palate carries weight. The finish doesn't fade, it resolves. You don't rush to refill your glass because you're still processing the previous sip. Why isn't it top 3? Personality. While it delivers finesse, structure, and length, it remains emotionally reserved. It's brilliant in a quiet room with good food and fewer people. It's less dramatic in a loud celebration. Albert Mann ranks here because it proves that Alsace can produce sparkling wine that plays comfortably in Champagne's highest register, even if it chooses understatement over grandeur. Number 3. Lucien Albrecht, Crémant d'Alsace. Lucien Albrecht is where this list finally crosses into dangerous territory. This is Crémant that doesn't just compete with champagne. It confuses people who think they're drinking champagne. From the pour onward, everything feels calibrated. The mousse is persistent, creamy, and silky without becoming heavy. The bead never breaks. It just keeps delivering texture. The aromatics are immediately more complex than anything below it. Apple tart, lemon curd, crushed stone, faint brioche, and a floral lift that keeps the whole profile feeling light rather than dense. On the palate, the wine stretches. The acidity drives length. The fruit opens gradually. The autolytic notes appear, disappear, then reappear in the finish. What elevates Lucien Albrecht is pacing. This is sparkling wine that controls the tempo of drinking. You naturally slow down. You start taking smaller sips. You notice how the flavor evolves as the glass warms. That behavior usually belongs to serious champagne. So why does it stop at 3? Distinction. While it achieves near-flawless execution, it still leans slightly toward elegance over power. The top 2 bottles on this list will add another layer, not just finesse, but authority. Lucien Albrecht ranks 3rd because it delivers refinement so complete that it forces you to recalibrate what alternative even means. Number 2. Chateau de Brézé, Crémant de Loire. Chateau de Brézé is the bottle that changes the mood of the room without anyone noticing when it happened. This is no longer great for the price, sparkling. This is simply great sparkling, full stop. From the first pour, there's a sense of calm confidence that separates it from everything below. The mousse is slow, fine, and persistent, forming a soft crown that refuses to disappear. The glass already looks expensive before you've taken a sip. The aroma is Loire at its most refined. Lemon oil, green apple, white peach, and a clear mineral thread runs straight through the nose. There's a faint honeyed edge, not sweet, just rounded, and a chalky freshness that hints at long lees contact without advertising it. When you taste it, the structure becomes the headline. The acidity is precise, not sharp. The fruit is clean, not showy. The texture feels layered rather than bubbly. What makes Brisé extraordinary is proportion. Nothing in this wine feels oversized. Each component arrives exactly when it should and leaves exactly when it should. The mid-palate carries quiet weight. The finish stretches long enough to feel deliberate, but never drags. This is the kind of sparkling wine that makes people lower their voice without realizing they've done it. Why does it land at number 2 instead of number 1? Philosophy. Chateau de Brisé plays the long game of balance and poise. It aims for harmony above all else. The very top of this list belongs to a bottle that goes one step further. Not just balanced, but expressive, almost personal. Brisé earns second place because it delivers near-perfect execution with an elegance that feels timeless. It doesn't need to impress you, it simply does. Number 1. Domaine Huet. Vouvray pétillant, traditional method. Domaine Huet takes the crown not by trying to imitate champagne, but by ignoring it entirely and becoming something more honest. This is not labeled Crémant. It doesn't need to be. It's traditional method Vouvray made from Chenin Blanc, and in the glass it behaves like a masterclass in what sparkling wine can become when technique serves character instead of category. From the first pour, the mousse feels alive, not aggressive, not creamy in the usual sense, but energetic, as if the wine is breathing. The bubbles rise in fine, continuous threads that never break rhythm. Aromatically, this is immediately different. Baked apple, quince, lemon peel, whetstone, faint chamomile, and a savory undertone that makes you pause before drinking. On the palate, Domaine Huet doesn't unfold in layers. It evolves. The first sip is bright and precise. The second shows texture. The third reveals depth you didn't notice was there. The acidity drives length, but the fruit carries warmth. The lees influence shows up as tension rather than softness. This is sparkling wine that keeps changing as the glass warms, as the air hits it, as time passes. What makes this number 1 is identity. You're not thinking about champagne when you drink this. You're thinking about the vineyard, the grape, the place. The finish lingers not because it's rich, but because it's complex. You don't rush to refill your glass. You wait. Domaine Huet wins because it delivers something rare. Not luxury, not imitation, not spectacle, but personality. This is sparkling wine that doesn't ask to replace champagne. It simply earns its own throne. So that's the list, from easy bubbles to bottles that rewrite expectations. Some of these challenge champagne. One of them transcends it. Now it's your turn. Which Crémant deserves a champagne slot